y'all, it's the Cute Coffee Gal back with another speed build video for y'all. Today I have an extra special treat, or is it a trick? I'm doing today HollieBB's Halloween Build Challenge. So you may have seen this on Twitter or on Twitch, but HollieBB issued a Halloween building challenge. And basically what you do is she's got a graphic. I'll link below to her little intro video about it. But you had to roll a die to figure out what kind of build you were going to do. And then you rolled again to figure out a specific item that would be required to be a part of your build. So the build that I got was the Chilling Chapel. So I'll read the description to you that she wrote. "Till death do us part. Well, unless you're a ghost. In that case, you'll have to listen to your spouse's ramblings about basketball for all of eternity. Is that the real horror here? Vow to create a wedding chapel that will leave us quaking." So I am creating a chilling wedding chapel here, and I've got it on a lot. It's a 30 by 20 lot. I've put it in the Forgotten Hollow world. And you may see in the corner of the property there is a random suit of armor. And that is because the second time I rolled the die, the item that I am required to put in my build is the Knight of the Octagon table suit of armor. So the first thing I did was put it on the lot so I wouldn't forget to include it. So I am using in this build a lot of the items from the Vampires pack. So I haven't had the chance to do much with that pack since I got it. I specifically wanted that pack for all of the fun items and build mode things. I don't play with vampires themselves that much, but there was a lot of really, really cool stuff in that expansion. So, in that game pack. So with that, I wanted to make sure that I used a lot of the different items from that. I think that door is from there. The carpet, I think, is from there. The walls, the brick walls on the outside are from the Vampire pack. So lots of stuff from that pack because I wanted to give it kind of a really creepy look. I also did not go with one of the largest lots. In my mind, a chapel is a lot smaller than like a big church. So I purposefully went with a smaller venue for a little wedding chapel. And here I am working out how do the seats work. I know that half the time in Sims weddings, people don't sit down, but that's okay. We'll have seats just in case they get the mood to do so. And I also used some great stained glass windows so that it has that kind of church feel to it. I didn't use any drapery throughout the entire build because I wanted to have that kind of creepy feel that the stained glass with the dark paneled wood gives it. I do have the organ over there in the corner from the Vampire pack. And what I'm doing right now is trying to figure out, kind of as I was going through and decorating and whatnot, I wanted to make sure that in addition to this, meeting the requirements of the build challenge, that it also made it be a decently functional lot for people to use. So one of the things that I struggled with trying to figure out how I was going to do this was, if you have weddings, then you also need to have a kitchen, and you need to have a bar, and you need to have bathrooms, and, all of those things that come along with having like a public lot. So you'll see that I go through a couple of different ways of going about that. But here I am just really thinking through the actual chapel itself and kind of getting that set. So now you see I've added a second building over there on the side. This was my first idea that I had as far as all of those other needs of putting in a bathroom and a kitchen and all of that. And I kind of played with that for a while before I just completely deleted it altogether. The main reason why I originally put the chapel itself on the lot kind of off to the side, not in the center, is because I knew I wanted to build a graveyard. And so that the space where I've got that second building becomes the graveyard, and that building goes away. But it took me a little while in playing with it before I got there. So, that's kind of how it works with build challenges, is that you're stretching yourself in a way that you don't normally build. And so you goof things up sometimes, and that's okay. So this was me trying to also figure out if I didn't do that second building, could I make an upstairs? And it took me forever to think through where on earth would I place a staircase, because I really liked the look and feel of the chapel and I didn't want to goof with it. I didn't want to like make one side longer than the other because I wanted it to have this same kind of symmetrical look and feel to it. So I started putting the roof on just so I could kind of play with it and think through what might work. And that's where you see me adding in that second story. So I went ahead and gave it a try before I deleted the other building because I wanted to make sure that it was going to do what I needed it to do. And I wound up just kind of removing that window on the side there and putting that staircase right where you see it there. So one of the great things about that is that it created this, you can kind of sort of see it here in the video, a little one square spot at the end of the staircase where the top of the staircase has to have a place for people to walk out. And that was a perfect little nook for that little knight to go. So that's where he is living. So I met that build challenge. So that's works really well there. And then as I started going, I realized that I didn't want it to be like this big block building. And I thought, what would be creepier than having this like wrought iron balcony that people could look over the graveyard from afar. So I created that kind of balcony. At the moment, it's just on each side, but I eventually do bring the top in just a little bit. So it's a whole walk around little walkway up there. So that's kind of fun and spooky. I can imagine, some ghosts wandering around up there and kind of getting up to no good. And I am building this in the light. I've got it set to day because I wanted to make sure I saw everything well, but honestly, it looks cooler at night. And so I kind of flip back and forth between that a little bit as I try to figure out exactly how it looks in the day, but also how it looks at night. And there's this like really delicate balance between having it well lit so that it looks good and your Sims have a good experience with the lighting, but it still has that dark and creepy feel to it. So the windows serve as a lot of the light. I do add some chandeliers and some candle votives, but not a ton of lighting. I thought about adding some lighting on the exterior of the building so that it would light the building, and I thought that just wound up being too bright. So I did not wind up doing that. But I did add a few lights you'll see at the very end in the graveyard just so that it wasn't like totally dark. Like not creepy dark, but just dark. So here I am working on our upstairs area. And like I said before, one of the things you need for a great wedding is to have the food figured out. And so what I've got here is setting up a little kitchen on the side. I also made sure to add in a bar because I know that is an important part to many weddings. And then I contemplated for a second with putting a DJ booth in there. And then I realized that if I did that, I wouldn't have enough space for the bathrooms. And I definitely wanted those to be included in this part that I had already kind of put together. So that went away. But I figure, they've got the organ downstairs if they really want some music. And so that'll be just fine. And I did have to play with the bathrooms a bit just to get everything placed in there. Those wound up being too narrow. And so I had to delete that second side door so that I could make them a little bit wider. But there is still the other door near the staircase. So there is a way for you to walk in and out. I was hoping to have one on each side. And most of the things that are in the bathroom there, the mirror, the toilet, the sink, all of that comes from the Vampire Pack. So it was really fun to get an opportunity to use those items and kind of think through, what would this look like so that it's nice and functional, but at the same time, it's got that kind of creepy vibe to it. So the doors on the bathrooms are not gender specific. I just wanted to have two so that we had enough space for people to use the restroom. And here I am placing some cracks and holes and spider webs and things like that all over the little upstairs area. I did that earlier in the downstairs area too, and that was kind of fun because I've never used those in a build before. So usually my builds are not extremely creative because I'm still very much getting my groove and learning how to build. I've for such a long time just downloaded stuff off the gallery when I needed it. So it was fun to get to add some things in there. So that was neat. And then I'm playing around a little bit here, you see, with the gargoyles and things like that so that I could figure out what kind of decor would be good for this build. I didn't use as many of the gargoyles as I could have. I didn't want to impede the walkways too much on that kind of round area, so I didn't put tons of gargoyles up there. You definitely could add more if you wanted to, but I did put a few just so that we had a little something. Now I'm adding in a couple of clutter items for the kitchen, a little teapot with the teas in case people wanted to have a little something to drink, or little kitchen knick-knack type things. So yeah, here I am adding those gargoyles in. And then I also was trying to see if I could get something on the front so that we could have something framing that doorway. But the little step wasn't quite wide enough for most of the items, and so I just decided to leave it bare and just put those little fountains. And I'm adding little brambles growing all over the building so that we've got this kind of creepy, abandoned look to it. I thought that would be kind of fun. I did for a moment think about adding like a church's steeple, like going up another couple of levels to make it a little bit taller. I did, in case you hadn't seen it in the gallery, I did a parish that I used in my Decades Challenge Let's Play, and I did that with that build. I have a taller steeple. But so I figured that this time I would just stay here with the lower roof, just so that we had, a little variety of the things that I've got uploaded. And then I decided that I needed to have the whole thing enclosed with a fence, and then I completely forgot that this is not how you build fences, so then I had to delete it all out. So this is the fence that I did go with. It is also from the Vampire Pack, and I love how big and tall it is, and the gate that goes along with it is like this big wrought iron gate that just really reminds me of the gates in front of cemeteries, so I thought that was a lot of fun. And I purposefully did not put the gate right in front of the church front door. I actually wanted it to be the gate into the cemetery. And you have to kind of sort of walk through a little bit of the cemetery in order to get to the front door. So I created that kind of dirt path there from people walking back and forth. And then I added, you'll see, a second wedding arch out in the graveyard. So I thought the whole point of this build is to create a chilling chapel, a place where you would have a creepy wedding. And so while you may go inside, you may also want to have your wedding in the graveyard itself. And so I went ahead and put the second little wedding chapel, little arch there in the middle of the graveyard. So, and now I'm just placing some of the headstones so that we've got our little graveyard set up. I also, in addition to just using the headstones, I added that one statue. I thought that perhaps that was, the ancestor of the people who originally built or owned this chapel. She might have had a larger headstone that's the woman, and perhaps it's her ghost that haunts the building. So that was what that was about. And of course, adding the little patches of dirt there so that you could see exactly where it was that people were buried. And I put brambles over each of them because I would think that in a normal cemetery, you might see flowers growing over the top of a grave. But this one is a little creepier than that. And so all the flowers have died. And so there are brambles on top of all of the graves. So, and added a couple of little brambly rose bushes just to finish the whole thing off. So, yeah, that is our build that we've got. This is me just kind of running around checking the lights, like I said. I was trying to figure out if I could throw just a random floor light underneath some things, but since it was brambles and not flowers, it showed, so I needed something a little different. So here I am. I went ahead and took my sim self and dressed myself up in some creepy wedding attire just to come and visit the lot there. But this is our chapel and what it looks like at night. So you can see how the graveyard's got some lighting so that you can see what's going on, but I don't know that I'd call it well lit. I really love the look that these trees have, the kind of like dead tree look around. I think that it just really kind of adds a lot to the ambiance. And there you can see what the brambles all kind of look like growing up the building during the night. So that's kind of fun and spooky. So yeah, and then I kind of did a little bit of a walkthrough. As you may know from other videos I've done, I'm still learning the best way to do these walkthroughs. So hopefully this makes sense, but here's what it looks like to kind of walk around in the graveyard. A little bit creepy, but that is intentional. So, and then I kind of walked on inside here so that you can see what it looks like, where the main wedding area would be, with that carpet that leads down the aisle, but the floors are all stone for that purpose, with those little window seats there in case people wanted to sit, and then you've got the actual wedding venue. So with the organ in the corner on that side, and then you've got the book on the other side, and the staircase to go upstairs to the reception venue. We've got some photos hanging on the wall there of family members, of people who've passed perhaps. And those creepy chandeliers, I love them. I think that they really, really work in this build. So, and then I came on up here to the reception area. See the little scratches on the wall and the cobwebs in the corner. Our knight of shining armor. And then in here, we've got our kind of bar set up, and then it leads to the table where people can sit down. Our kitchen area where you might be able to cook or have a chef come in and cook. See the 2 restrooms over there in the corner. So it's just kind of a small little intimate venue. You know, it's not meant to be for a big deal wedding. It's supposed to be for a simpler kind of affair that you might just invite your, closest friends and family and departed ones to join you. And then here I am up on the little balcony that overlooks the graveyards, that you can kind of get a feel for what that looks like. But it's got a great view, not only of the graveyard, but also of that lovely mountain range in the background that's part of the Forgotten Hollow world that this is built in. So that is my chilling chapel build for HollieBB's Halloween build challenge. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I do have this build up on the gallery for you to download. If you want to check that out on the gallery, I'm CuteCoffeeGal. You can also find it under the hashtag CuteCoffeeGal or the hashtag Halloween, HollieWeen. So yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you wouldn't mind giving it a big thumbs up and letting me know that you liked this build. And if you also are inclined, please subscribe to my channel. I have other speed builds that I do, as well as some Create Sims videos, and my Decades Challenge, which we are getting close to closing out the first decade on that, so it's quite a bit of fun to watch that little family. So anyway, I hope you have a great Halloween, and thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye, y'all.